Hey YouTubers, it's Jordan from The Winding Path, and today we're going to be talking about the two different types of herbalism. Stay tuned. Hey YouTubers, so today we're going to be talking about the two different types of herbalism. Most people don't realize that there's two. There is more than two, but the two main ones that most people don't realize is there's practical medicinal herbalism, where you use herbs to heal and prevent illness and disease and other problems, or to help fix those problems. And then there's magical herbalism, where you use herbs and other roots and everything else like that to make for magical purposes or magical practice. Now the two, you use the same herbs for both of them, but when you're ingesting herbs or you're using herbs for medicinal use in some form or fashion, you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. Okay, you want to take a course, you want to take classes, you want to do research, you want to make sure that you're doing all the required necessary things to make sure that if you are going to ingest something or take something, that you are not just outright going, oh, I heard this is good for this, and then you make a tea or a tincture and then you take it, and then you find out that it's actually toxic or harmful. Because you don't want to, there's some things that you don't want to ingest that you only want to use topically, and there's some things that you can take internally and you can use topically. Okay? I've been practicing herbalism, medicinal herbalism, for about 3 years now, give or take. And I've learned a lot. I definitely am always in training. It's one of those things where you always will be learning. Even if you're teaching people, you will still learn other things about herbs and how to use them and how to help people with them in some form or fashion. Now, the type of herbalism I do is just a home-based kitchen herbalism. It's to help my family and my friends in whatever way I can. I thought about trying to start a business, and I did start a business at one point to try and help out other people and make a little bit of money, not enough to really support myself right off, at least, but to help people out and give them another option other than going to the doctor and basically paying hundreds of dollars for pills, or even just taking the pills in general. I want to help people to find a way to supplement whatever they're taking that's not going to damage their body. I did that for a bit. I had a business for about a year, tried to get it off the ground, tried to get it going. I had business cards and everything, but it just didn't feel like I was doing the right thing at the time. And that's mostly due to the fact that I didn't really have a client base. I was trying to do a business and start everything out right off the bat, as opposed to building a base and then trying to build the walls around that foundation. I just started out with the walls with no foundation underneath it. So I kind of backed off of that a little bit, and I'm still practicing herbalism. I still use it in a home basis, and an everyday thing, in an everyday situation. And I do also want to reach out to the community as well, and hopefully get people to understand that herbs and herbalism and using herbs in a medicinal way is more beneficial, more helpful, more healthy than switching to or going after the chemical pills, chemical and pill big pharma sort of medication that tends to do more harm than good. It gets rid of your symptoms, not the problem. So that's the one herbalism. So that's herbalism number one, is a medicinal herbalism. And there's many different branches to that herbalism. Okay, there's Western, Chinese, Eastern, Ayurveda. Dude, there's tons. Okay. Then there's magical herbalism, and magical herbalism is using pretty much any herb or plant or root or bark or tree that you can get your hand on that has a magical property. And you don't really ever ingest those herbs when you're making a magical incense or a magical charm or a magical, doing something with those herbs in a spell or anything like that. You're not usually ingesting them, usually burning them, or you are mixing them in with something to add to a spell or to use in a charm or a talisman or something along those lines. But what's nice between medicinal herbalism and magical herbalism is you can mix the two, and you can make a tea, you can make a tincture, you can make a hand cream, a lotion, something along those lines that has a magical purpose as well as a medicinal purpose. It doesn't have to just be one or the other. You can combine the two. And most people, they start out learning medicinal herbalism and they kind of bleed over into magic a little bit if they are into that. But almost 100% of the people that start using herbs and magic want to find out what medicinally they can do with those herbs, or they come across it and stumble across it and it intrigues them and they start learning a bit more. Also, a lot of the lore behind some of these plants and how they're used and why they're used is also very interesting as well. There's a guy out there, an herbalist, and his name is, I think it's Guido Masse. It's Guidomase, first and last name. And he talks a little bit about the Sylvani and how they relate to different herbs and some of the stories and lore behind some of those herbs. And you can find him on YouTube. I believe he is currently doing a video series through maybe Mountain Rose Herbs, I think. I can't remember exactly. But if you look him up, I'm sure you'll come across him. And he's talked about nettle, and he's talked about, I think, even comfrey and a few other herbs so far, at least. But he talks kind of about the lore behind the plants a little bit and what they used to be used for and how they used to be used, because he's very into not just the plant itself and what it can do for you, but the mythology behind the plant and the lore behind the plant and the history behind the plant, and why some people use them and why some people use them in other ways other than just medicinally. So when you're using both of those instances, when you're using magical herbalism and medicinal herbalism, if you're using them together, fantastic. Just be careful, make sure you know what you're doing. You definitely have to practice and understand and research and get to understand and know what you're doing with each of those herbs. Because if you just go out willy-nilly and grab an herb and you're like, oh, this is fantastic, I heard this is great for protection, and it's poison ivy, and you're like, oh sweet, I'm going to make a tea so I can drink it, and blah blah, and that's not going to do anything. It's going to be way more harmful than good, and you're going to end up harming yourself. As where something like peppermint, also good for protection. You can make a tea out of it, keep yourself awake, it's a stimulant, and it's also good for protection as well. So you can use that tea for protection as well as drinking, and kind of get a double use out of it. Two birds, one stone sort of theory. And then also, if you like to drink a loose leaf tea, you can also do tessomancy after that, and just kind of link everything together. Everything's sort of interconnected in some form or fashion, and if you use one item, peppermint leaves, to do 3 different things, then you're being efficient, you're being helpful, you're being overall connected, pretty much. So, if you do have any questions about herbalism, or you do want to learn anything about not anything, but if you want to learn more about herbalism and where you can go to learn, to study, either paid or unpaid, or paid, unpaid, or small subscription, monthly subscription fee, definitely contact and let me know, either on my Facebook page, which I have down at the comments down below, or you can contact me on YouTube itself and just, send me a comment, send me a message, send me something. Let me know if you're interested. And I will definitely have a conversation with you and see where we can kind of go from there. But hopefully everything's good to go on learning about herbs and learning how to use them in a medicinal and magical way and using them together. And I already kind of did a video on herbs that you can use for protection, so this is maybe an extension of that video. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Remember to like and subscribe down below, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment or send me a message. Blessed be, Mary part.